It's based on my experience, and I've seen firsthand how a lot of realtors market things that they themselves cannot subscribe to. You understand? So, and that was what prompted that video. You understand? Because I know a lot of realtors are still in the business of selling things that are not legit, coming from someone who has so much experience when it comes to real estate and still falling victim of such an issue. In fact, I'm so happy you asked this question because, that is what is currently. In terms of regulation, it is important that all real estate companies offering land banking opportunities are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, right? And this is a criteria. It is non-negotiable.
Good day, amazing family of the Thread Ninja. We are very excited. I see you, I see your likes, I see your comments, I see all of your engagement. And it's been awesome doing this with you. And today we have in the studio with us another amazing lady. This lady, when you're talking about real estate, she is very, very passionate about it. Some of you know her as the real estate messiah, right? Today with me in the studio, I have the awesome Tinupax. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. Thank you for coming to the Real Estates podcast because, of course, that's what you're very passionate about. So, Tinupax is a real estate consultant, and if you've been following her on Instagram, right, she speaks passionately, exposing some ills in the real estate industry when it comes to rental, property purchase, and also addressing specifically realtors. So, Tinu, one of your videos that you recorded recently, that you dropped recently, I really loved that video where you talked about where you talk to the realtors, addressing them, talking to their conscience. You mentioned something, you told them that if they had the money, they wouldn't buy some of the properties that they are marketing. I want you to just speak briefly on that, then we delve deep into the session.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here. So, based on that, it was just like based on my experience as well in the real estate industry because I've actually come a long way when it comes to this real estate business.
How long have you been in the industry?
I've been in the industry for at least 8 years and counting.
Amazing.
Yes.
Whoa.
So, like I was saying, it's based on my experience, and I've seen firsthand how a lot of realtors market things that they themselves cannot subscribe to. You understand? So, and that was what prompted that video. You understand? Because I know a lot of realtors are still in the business of selling things that are not legit, things that can actually not satisfy their clients in the long run. You understand? So, and like I said, I have an experience in that area as well. And, I was actually coming from a real estate company which had issues.
Okay.
Yes, you understand. So they could not, if you go to my page, you see a part where I reintroduced myself. And that reintroduction was based on my experience with a real estate company that had issues along the line.
So it was like a disclaimer dissociating yourself.
You understand?
Okay.
Well, I won't say it was a disclaimer, right? I had been on Instagram for a very long time.
Okay.
So, and when this issue occurred, I had to take a step back, and reevaluate what this whole real estate thing is about. Coming from someone who has so much experience when it comes to real estate and still falling victim of such an issue. So, and that was what prompted the whole real estate messiah thing. And I said, okay, if I'm going to be coming back online, I'm coming back to, give people more orientation about how this real estate business works and also to prevent people from, further mishaps when it comes to this real estate business as well. So, that was what actually prompted that video. You understand? Trying to let realtors know that they need to be credible when it comes to the real estate business because if you know what is going down in the real estate industry, a lot is going.
All right, so let's talk land banking in real estate. Now, would you say that the land banking model in Nigeria, especially Lagos, let's just dish down on Lagos, would you say that that model is sustainable in the long term?
Okay, so just to give context to what land banking is. So land banking is literally land flipping. right? So you buy land at a very affordable price now, and maybe in a year or 2 or 3 years, you sell to make profit. So that's what land banking is all about. So you buy land, resell, and make profit of it, right? So if I'm to give context to what you're saying, if it's a sustainable investment model, well, I see a lot of real estate companies selling investments. And I would say so far so good. A lot of real estate companies currently running this land banking investment scheme are paying for now, right? But is it sustainable in the long run? I would not say yes, I would not say no. Why? Because if we can have the regulatory bodies come in, if most of these real estate companies are well regulated, it is sustainable in the long run. But if you look at what is currently going on, we see a lot of real estate companies giving as high as 40%, 45% within a short period of time. It is unrealistic. So right now, it is sustainable because people are cashing out, right? So we recently heard of a particular company that had issues, investors' funds lost and all that, right? So it is similar to what is going on in the real estate industry. So people say they are flipping land, but if you look in depth, it's not really flipping of land, right? It is more of a Ponzi scheme.
Whoa.
Yes, it is more of a Ponzi scheme because at the end of the day, you find out that most of these real estate companies are using new clients' funds to pay existing
More like
clients.
using Peter's money to pay Paul.
So, and once that occurs,
until the
it is
pyramid.
already a Ponzi scheme.
It's already a pyramid.
So if somebody is saying,
structure.
I'm doing land banking, if you say you are doing land banking and you are paying someone within 12 months, it is not realistic. It is not realistic. Because if someone invests, say in January, another person invests in March, right? And you are telling them that you are going to pay them within a 12-month period. You have not even, in fact, some of these companies have not even purchased this land. They say they want to use in doing land banking. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So, and if you notice, I made mention of a certain thing. I said some real estate companies would sell land and promise you that within 2 years, it will appreciate by 200%.
What really do they use to measure the appreciation?
That is what I don't know. You understand? So they will just assume that this location is viable and within a short period of time, it will appreciate. But it's not always like that in reality.
Oh. Okay, so now let's move from the land banking. Let's talk about the omoniles. These people are like a cancer in the real estate industry that are constantly growing, right? And it's even worse because they have some sort of, legal rights to an extent because they are the indigenous owners of the land. So with the activities of the omoniles, land grabbers, what practical step would you recommend that an average investor take to differentiate the legitimate scheme from the Ponzi scheme you've just talked about?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. So I would say right now, if someone wants to probably buy land, the best way to buy land is to go through a legitimate real estate company. Once you can buy from a legitimate real estate company, you have already eliminated your moneyless. Right? Yes. So I can't buy from a good real estate company and still be facing a moneyless issue. It is a real estate company that will be tackling the moneyless.
Absolutely.
So I am paying more buying from a real estate company because, if you are to buy land from a moneyless, it's cheaper.
Yes.
But you will face the problem of a moneyless. But if you are buying from a real estate company, all those moneyless problems has been already eliminated. You understand? So it has been taken care of. So buy from a legitimate real estate company. So now the question should be, which real estate company is legitimate?
True.
You understand?
Yes.
Because it is not all real estate companies
that are legitimate.
Yes. You understand? So you should be looking at track record. How long have these real estate companies been in existence? What is their track record? Are people screaming that land is not allocated? Because that is also another issue. The big names, I don't want to mention names, right? A lot of big names are, it's a constant complaint from customers claiming that they are not being allocated their land, or probably after buying, they bring one big hidden charge from somewhere. And someone that bought a land of 2 million and you're telling the person to come and pay 2.5 million as developmental fee. You understand?
True.
So those are some of the things that needs to be checked. You understand?
Okay.
If you want to ensure that you are investing right in the real estate business. So you also need to be checking the documentation.
Okay.
You also need to check the land. If you are buying land and someone is selling it as a dry land, you need to be sure it's dry.
It's dry.
So you need to be going to the site, take a land surveyor with you when you're going on inspection to check the terrain, the topography of that particular location to see if it is dry, if it is swampy or waterlogged. It's not an issue. But the challenge is, are you willing to spend money to sand fill and do a very solid foundation? If you don't have that money, you know that
Then
location
don't
is
go
not
for
for you.
it, yes.
Then also the documentation, be checking if the land is under government acquisition or not, because that could also be an issue.
True.
Currently in Ekpe axis, a lot of locations that real estate companies are selling are not legit.
True.
But we are not. That is another story for another day.
Okay, so now you've just talked about how the investors can identify legitimate or illegitimate schemes. Now, I've seen realtors that will say, oh, I did not know that this organization, this real estate company was not properly. So, or they also, some realtors, they don't know when they are desperate. You talked about realtors being desperate. So that's also one thing for buyers to look out for. When somebody is already desperate, then you know that there's a red flag. So what are the telltale signs that will tell the realtor himself that this is a place to check yourself, or this is a place to know that this venture you're about to go into is not absolutely legit? I want you to address the realtors now.
Okay, so are you talking from the angle of a desperate realtor to know if a realtor is desperate?
Yes.
Okay, so basically to know if a realtor is desperate, you would see some signs. And one of those signs is when a realtor is bad-mouthing another real estate company or whatever, just so that you can feel their own real estate company is the best. You understand? So
yes.
they want to say, oh, don't go to this particular real estate company, they don't allocate. Whereas the real estate company, they are also in. They don't allocate
too.
You understand? So those are some of the funny things you see realtors doing. Then desperation as well. The realtor doesn't really care about what you want. They are after their own commission. You understand? You will see that desperate sign. You will see them pushing. Oh, please. And I don't know if you understand. You will know if someone is desperate. So you just need to watch for those signs, right?
Okay.
The realtor is just always so eager. Oh, don't worry, come. If the person is even saying, I would inspect, okay, I will send video, you don't need to come. Just
rushing you through the due diligence
you understand
process,
so
yes.
you should be wary of such a realtor. You would know that something is off somewhere. So in such cases, I usually advise clients, don't rush the process of buying land. Land is not popcorn or biscuits that you just pay and take your time. Do your due diligence, visit the site. If you're abroad and you can't come to Nigeria, send a trusted family member. Not a family member that will go there and negotiate with you. Don't worry, we will share the commission or something like that. You understand?
Yes.
So do the needful and do the right thing.
Go through the process.
Go through the right process. It's not
at the end of the day.
Real estate, I keep telling people, is a long-term game.
Yes.
It's not a short-term game that you just put money
in and out. Yes.
You understand? So do it right. If you do it right, you definitely benefit the proceeds of real estate.
Yes, eventually. All right, so let's talk about regulatory bodies. So considering the current regulatory landscape, how secure are investors' funds in popular land banking investment schemes and then, installment-based property purchases? What critical regulatory gaps need to be addressed to better protect investors?
In fact, I'm so happy you asked this question because, that is what is currently, that's what is happening. Yes. So, in terms of regulation, I would say most land banking schemes, because I would not want to talk on behalf of all real estate companies. I don't know the one that is regulated and I don't know the one that is not regulated, right?
Yes.
So, but I'm going to just generalize. In terms of regulation, it is important that all real estate companies offering land banking opportunities are regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, right? And this is a criteria. It is non-negotiable. But the challenge is, I said something on my page. I said, most of these companies know that they cannot be licensed by SEC. Why? Because to be licensed by SEC, you cannot offer a fixed return over a period of time. So you cannot say, I am giving you 40% guaranteed. You cannot guarantee. Go to the SEC website, do your findings on SEC. Even I myself, I'm still doing a lot of research on this whole investment thing, right? So it is clearly stated there. If you are offering land banking opportunities as a real estate company, you're already in the investment cycle. So you need to do the due diligence. Usually, real estate is just buy land and sell.
Yes, yes.
Nobody's raising
Promising any
fund.
return on investment.
Now you are raising funds from the public. You are
Crowdfunding.
guaranteeing a fixed return.
Return, yes.
And like I said, the real estate companies know that they cannot be licensed by SEC if they are to guarantee 40%. Even SEC, I don't think SEC will approve
That's
as high
kind
as
of,
40% within
yes,
12
too
months.
much.
It's a lot.
It's not realistic.
You understand? Because even as a company, there are a lot of issues. You can experience challenges along the line, even as a real estate company.
Absolutely,
Things will
yes.
go wrong. Marketing might not even go the way it should.
True.
And
The
you are
market
guaranteeing
is very
40%.
volatile.
How do you want to assure that? So now I will go to the loophole so that we don't spend too much time there, right? So I feel the regulatory gap here is, I think I'm just going to address SEC now as an organization, right? Because I have noticed the problem over time. And the problem over time is most of these companies would have operated for as much as 4-5 years before we start hearing that, oh, SEC said they are not regulated.
Oh,
I don't know if you understand it.
yes. So already that 4-5 years has already bought them the trust
You
of,
understand?
yes.
And they have already had so much customers. 1,000 customers, 5,000 customers, 10,000 customers. Okay, see the company that had issues recently. You heard the billions. The SEC put out a disclaimer that they are not licensed by us.
So why did they do
So
that?
what happened
earlier?
in the initial stage when they were
Yes.
operating? Why is it that they have to come in after
They
these
have
companies have
gathered a lot-
established trust
yes.
in the system?
That's a
So what
problem.
I feel is, I feel if there can be a process where before these companies even start,
Okay.
let them go through the process, or we see how NEPA, for example, if NEPA wants to cut your light,
Yes.
they know your house.
Yes.
They know you are not paying.
Exactly. Yes.
So why can't we have that for
SEC
these
as well, real estate
businesses as well? You understand? So I
Yes.
feel if we have this for this business, and also probably maybe because the process is very cumbersome and it's stressful or whatever, that is why a lot of companies are trying to cut corners to run this land banking
Yes,
scheme.
true.
So probably if they can make the process easier,
Yes, yes.
more accessible, maybe people can come out clean and say, okay, I want to do land banking. How can I go about it? You understand? So I feel these are some of the things that needs to be looked into to help us, people out there who are investors. Because Nigerians are very, very passionate about investment. Very passionate about investment. So if we can have a system whereby people can do it the right way, probably things will not be having things like this. We won't be having people going through the back doors to run investment schemes.
Amazing. You've said it all. So now for a viewer who is wondering, are there ways or is there somewhere for me to go and check? Maybe SEC publishes everybody that has a license. So are there ways that a potential investor can verify whether or not the company is licensed?
Yes, it's a very direct process, right? So based on my research so far on how to go about checking for companies that SEC license, all you just need to do is go on your website. It's very accessible. Okay. Go to www.sec, that's sec.gov.ng/CMOS. www.sec.gov.ng/CMOS. So, but before you go through that route, ensure that the company you want to check, that is the same name that is listed on the SEC website. You understand? So once you put in that website, it's direct. You see a list of all companies licensed by SEC. So you can just easily impute the name of the company and automatically it comes out. So if the company is licensed, you will see it there. If it's not licensed, you will not see it.
You know, the funny thing is most people will still go ahead and invest.
See.
Because they just want a straightforward thing.
I am telling you.
But at the end of the day, it's for your own interest. It's for you to secure your funds. Like she said, real estate is not an in and out thing. It's a long-term thing. So you need to make sure that whatever decision you're making, you carry out all the due diligence thoroughly before you dump your funds into that venture. Okay, so let's talk installments payment plan now, right? Now, a lot of people want to purchase property and it's very laudable that there is flexible investments or payment plan for these people. So, and it has been very attractive. So from your perspective, what are the key issues surrounding this plan that most people are not aware of?
Okay, so in terms of instrumental payment
Yes,
plan, right?
yes.
So I think the major challenge with instrumental payment plan is, but first of all, before I go there, I would say if you have the bulk funds, the lump sum, just pay at once
Okay.
and rest. You
Most people will
understand?
say cash flow conservation.
Yes, because see, if you look at it, I understand that the instrumental payment plan is to help more people own properties because we have a
Yes.
large housing deficit currently,
Absolutely.
right? So if people can pay in installments, it's easier for probably
For
a
more
salary earner
people
to
to
just pay in
acquire.
installments and all that. But most times you realize that it's it helps though, but in the long run, if you look at it, one, you are paying higher.
True.
Because most times, anybody that is giving you an instrumental payment plan, after maybe 3 or 6 months, they tell you a 10% charge has been
Yes,
added to
added,
it
yes.
and all that. So you end up paying higher in the long run, right?
Yes.
Though it helps for flexibility in payments, but in the long run, you are paying higher. So, and you also notice that for those running the instrumental payment plan, there are a lot of things involved in the instrumental payment plan.
True
So,
that.
but what I always advise is if you have the lump sum, pay.
Pay.
You understand? So
Yes.
that you don't have issues. And sometimes, after paying the lump sum, like I said, a lot of hidden charges would come
Yes,
in,
absolutely.
which some of these real estate companies will not tell you.
Yes,
Some
true.
will tell you, oh, developmental fee, don't worry, just pay now. When you pay,
Do
the
not,
developmental fee, we've not
it's
set
just
it yet.
yes, small
But you pay 2
percentage.
million now for the land. By the time you are done, they will not tell you developmental fee is 2.5 million
It's even
because you
more than the
used.
land.
So also another challenge is the duration is too short for payment.
Okay.
And you can't blame developers for giving you such a short duration because the prices of building materials are not fixed, particularly for those paying in installment for properties.
Okay.
Right? Things change.
Yes.
Even if it's land, the value of the land will still change
Yes.
after a while.
True
You
that.
understand?
True.
So that is why they factor in those additional costs, right?
Yes, yes.
So like I said, another challenge is the duration is short. Right? Simply because we don't really have a mortgage system here in this country, you understand?
not
So,
working, yes.
and you can't see somebody telling you to come and pay for 10 years for a property. It's not possible.
No. So what would you call like a typical fair duration, realistically?
The standard
Yes.
is usually between 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
Usually 6 to
Usually,
12 months. So
yes.
in some cases, some developers go out of their way to make it
18
24 months.
24 months.
You understand?
Yes,
So,
yes.
but the standard is usually
6
6
to
to 12 months.
Okay.
You understand? Because, our economy is ruled by dollar in a way. You understand? So,
Yes.
the cost of building materials are going up every day.
Higher and higher.
And all, and we import a lot of things. So, if you look at it, you can't blame the developers as well. So, like I said, if you want to buy land as an investor, if you have the lump sum, buy. Pay and get your land at once. Once you get it, secure it. Because that is another issue. When you go to site, they will tell you, don't worry, this is where you will be, just be paying.
Yeah,
when
but
you
you
pay,
need to take
they will tell you,
possession. They now
it's
allocate
allocated.
elsewhere.
Everybody has taken it. You have to go to the back, or the.
Yeah.
So if you are seeing something you like it and you have the money, pay.
Yes.
Immediately you pay. Come and fence your land.
Physical possession.
Before fencing it, make sure you do your title document on that particular spot. Get your red copy survey if you cannot even get your C of O or the other documents. Get your red copy survey for that particular plot. So once you've done that, you can rest. Like I said, you must make sure you do your perimeter fencing as well. Very important.
Very important.
Because even sometimes with red copy survey, you will see encroachment
yes,
in your land. You understand? So that's it basically.
All right. Thank you very much. This has been insights packed. And if you want to get more insight on this, you can watch previous episodes. We talked about this, and you can also follow the Real Estate Messiah on Instagram at Tinupax, where you're going to get a lot of insight. Also, you can drop your questions in the comment section. Now, before you go, I just want you to advise people out there who probably have fallen victim and they've given up on investing, or people who just even want to go into the real estate investment market, but they don't know how to navigate. What final words do you have for them?
Okay, so my advice is you can't give up. Right? You can't. In fact, let me just say investment has its risk.
Yes.
If you are not a risk taker, don't forget investment.
Don't even think about, yes. Don't even think of
There's no investment that does not have its risk. If you like, let it be regulated by SEC, let it be insured, whatever, there's risk. So it now depends on your risk appetite, right?
Yeah.
What is the level of risk you can
You're willing to take.
You understand? So take calculated risk. do your due diligence. Find out whatever company you want to do business with, do your due diligence, check track record. Find out from people around that have done business with them to see how long they have been in business, right? So those
Yes.
are some of the things that will inform your decision when it comes to investment. Land banking is a good investment option, but ensure that whatever company you are doing it with is licensed by SEC.
True.
You understand?
Yes.
Because license is key.
Yes.
Because I used to tell people, once the SEC authorities come after you, it's by the grace of God if that company doesn't go down. It's by the grace of God. So ensure that you do your due diligence, check for title documents, and don't stop investing. Investment in real estate is one of the best decisions I can tell you will ever make in your life. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I had an amazing time, and personally I have learned a lot. Remember to subscribe. Subscription is totally free. Also follow us on Instagram at The Real Deal Naija. Use the hashtag thread. You can also follow our guest Tinupax on Instagram. Don't forget, we love to read your comments and want to hear from you. What do you think about investing in Nigeria? Is it really secured, or is it a continuous hole that just keeps dipping and dipping? Thank you very much for joining us on today's episode. We'll see you on another episode of Trade.